So how do I finance a real estate deal? I have the money, I have the knowledge, but where do I go? What questions do I ask? And what are they looking for? Today we're going to go over all those things, so stick around. So first things first, where do I get this financing from? Who do I go to? For today, we're just going to talk about conventional means, like the normal way to get financing. There's a lot of creative ways you can go about it. You can borrow money from friends, from family. There's hard money lenders. We're not going to talk about that today. We're just going to keep it simple for you guys. So first and foremost, we want to go to a local bank, a credit union, or some sort of nationwide lender such as Rocket Mortgage. So when you are looking through these different options, you want to talk to them about what they're going to offer you, right? Because first, before they qualify you, you need to qualify them. You want to find out, okay, what options do they give you? Are they flexible? Do they work with investors? Do they not? Because certain lenders specialize in certain areas. And that's one of the things you need to be aware of when you're shopping around for lenders. So one of the first questions they're going to ask a lender is, what programs do you offer? Do you work with investors? And how much down do I need to put for that program? So the most common one is the conventional, right? That is the traditional, the original. And that standard is usually 20% down. So 20% of the purchase price is required for that program, and usually you get the better interest rate with that. And there are certain other things that you need to be aware of with the percentage that you put down. Okay, so for single family rentals, if you're doing an investment property and you're buying something like that, you're going to look at, most lenders are going to require around 15% minimum. 20% is standard. Some of them even require 25%. Multifamily is usually a minimum of 25%, 20 to 25. It's going to vary depending on lender to lender. You need to kind of shop around, but that's typically what you'll see. If you put anything less than 20% down, you almost always have to pay what's called PMI, or private mortgage insurance. So that's basically some extra monthly payment that you have to pay to ensure that you're not going to default. It's an insurance to the lender because you're more of a risk when you put less money down to them. So anything less than 20% requires that. That's something to consider. It's usually not a significant amount of money, but it is something to consider. The second option you have is usually what you see, FHA, Federal Housing Administration. And this program usually requires you to put down as little as 3%, but not all houses qualify. They have to meet certain requirements, and not all lenders will be able to work with you on this. There are other ways you can do 3% down with conventional and still get good rates. It's really going to depend on what state you're in. I know Connecticut offers 3% down conventional with certain lenders, but almost always you can find 5% down at least if you can't get 3 on a conventional loan. You can really put as much or as little as you want, but it has to fall within these minimums, right? So you could put technically 30, 40, 50% if you wanted to, but that doesn't always make sense, especially when you're buying an investment property. You're looking to usually put as little as you can down without over leveraging, so that way you can increase the return on investment. Your third option you'll see is for veterans. If you're in the military or you have a huge advantage here because you can get into a house for as little as 0% down. So take full advantage of that if you have the ability. Otherwise, there are a lot of ways to work around this 20% down. So like I said, if you're going to buy a rental property, you need that 15 to 20% down. But if you're going to live in the property yourself, it's a primary residence, then you can most likely put 3 to 5% down on a conventional, and you need to live there for at least a year, and then you can move out and buy a new home, and keep that interest rate, keep that loan amount, everything locked in. This is what's called house hacking, right? This is what I did on my first couple of properties. I moved in with a low percent down, and I was able to avoid this 20% down on the first 3 properties. I didn't have to come up with that. So there are ways to work around it, but that is the typical. Just keep that in mind. So what do you need to qualify now as the borrower? What are they going to be looking for? They need to find out a few things from you to even see if they can consider you for the loan. So a couple of those things are your credit score, right? So most lenders are going to require at least a 620 credit score. The higher your credit score, the better terms you're going to get, usually the better interest rate. 740 to 760 is mostly considered premier pricing, and then minimum is 620. So if you don't have that score, you can do some things to work towards building it. I could make another video if you guys like about how to increase your credit score, but you can work towards it. Once you're at that threshold, then you know you can apply for a conventional loan. Past that, you're going to want to make sure you have a good, stable job history. Usually they look for 2 years of job history in the same industry. You want to make sure that you have some sort of predictable income for them. They like to see W-2 income. So as an employee, someone who's salaried, hourly wage, those things are nice. They kind of frown upon self-employment income. Unless you've been doing it for a while, then they can kind of consider that. But otherwise, they like more traditional types of income in order to qualify you for a conventional loan. So that's just something to keep in mind. There are other types of lenders that specialize and work with people that may not fall into that category. Okay, so you made it this far. Let's say everything looks good. They're going to ask for some more documents. You upload them. You just kind of go with the flow. At this point, they will then come back with a pre-approval letter or denial. If they come back with a pre-approval letter, that's great. You can now move forward in looking at properties. You kind of understand how much you can afford, and you know what type of loan program you're working with. So you know how much you're going to be putting down, and you kind of get a better idea of what your numbers are when it comes to analyzing the property. If you get denied, don't get frustrated or disappointed with it. Move on to another lender and try again. Sometimes a certain lender won't approve you for whatever reason, but another lender will. So try to work with multiple lenders, get the best terms, and then make sure you get approved. And after that, you can move forward. If you can't get approved for whatever reason, you're coming up on a hurdle, then work on trying to fix that issue so that you can very, very quickly get into the pre-approval process and get that property. Or if it's something like, self-employment income, and you've only been self-employed for a year and they can't qualify you, well, consider other avenues. There's things called DSCR loans. You can look into those and ask around with lenders, hey, what are my options? Because one lender may not help you, but another one can. So don't give up and keep going. So there you go. That's financing a real estate deal for beginners. Hopefully I was able to do that for you in a simple and concise way. If you still have questions, leave them down below in the comment section, and I'll be happy to answer them. If you guys have any ideas for future videos that you'd like me to do, let me know and I can do that as well. Otherwise, have a great week, and I'll see you next time.